Good morning, boys and girls. It's good to be with you again this morning. Remember last week we talked about Joseph and his story and how he brought his father and brothers to Egypt, and there they lived so they would have food to eat. Well, many years passed after Joseph died and his father and brothers died. Many years passed. And the people, Joseph's family and his brothers' families, they still lived in Egypt. And they grew in number. They became so large that the new Pharaoh was afraid that the Israelites might one day turn against him and his people and try to take over the land. And so the Pharaoh made them slaves, boys and girls. He made the people of Joseph and his brothers slaves. That means they had to work for Pharaoh and the people of Egypt. They had to work for them. They could not do what they wanted to do. They were forced to do what Pharaoh told them to do. So they cried out to God. They cried out to God. God, help us! They prayed, help us, God! We're in slavery. We're no longer a free people. Help us. But God blessed them even when they were slaves, and their numbers grew. So Pharaoh had another plan. We got to get rid of all the baby boys. When a baby boy is born, put him to death. Oh, isn't that horrible, boys and girls? To put a baby to death? Oh, that's awful. But that's what Pharaoh was doing, trying to put the baby boys to death so that the people would not grow in number and they would not be strong. One day a woman gave birth to a baby boy. She knew that her boy could be put to death. So she made a basket. She made a basket and made it waterproof and put it down on the river and put the baby in it to hide it in the reeds, to hide it in the weeds that were growing there by the water so that no one would see it. Well, boys and girls, one day, the daughter of Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, came to bathe in that river. And as she was bathing in that river, she saw that basket in the distance in those reeds, and she told the girls that were helping her, go get that basket. Let's see what's in there. This is what we see, boys and girls. There was a baby in that basket. A baby in that basket. And this girl, this daughter of Pharaoh, would take this baby home and he would grow in her home. Just think of that. This is the type of baby that Pharaoh wanted to kill, but his daughter found it, protected it, and took it home. Because God had a plan, boys and girls. This baby was named Moses. Moses. That means he was taken out of the water. And you know what, boys and girls? He grew and he learned how to be a leader. Like Pharaoh was a leader. He learned how to lead other people. Because, boys and girls, God was working a plan. A plan. One day, when Moses was older, he saw that Egyptian soldiers, the slave and those who governed the people were beating one of his people, one of the Jewish people. And Moses stopped that beating, but when he hit the man that was beating this other man, that was beating him up, that man he hit died. And so Moses had to flee into the desert, boys and girls, and he was there for 40 years, boys and girls, 40 years. And there, one day, God came to him. He came to him, boys and girls, in a burning bush. Just like this picture you see here. There's Moses taking care of the sheep. And God came to him in this burning bush. And God said to him, "Moses!" And Moses was afraid. He didn't know it was God. But God spoke to him and told him who he was. And he said, "I've heard the prayers of my people in Egypt. They're crying out in their slavery. They want to be free. And Moses, I'm going to use you. Through you, I'm going to set my people free. I have taught you the years when you were in Egypt how to be a leader. And now I'm sending you back, that you might lead my people out." And Moses said, "God, how can I do this? I'm just but one man. Pharaoh's big and mighty, and he has a large army." And God says, "That doesn't matter, Moses. I go with you. And I am stronger than the largest army in the world. I will be with you." And God did go with Moses. And Moses went back to Egypt and said to Pharaoh, "God says, let his people go." Pharaoh says, "They work for me. I'm never going to let them go." Moses says, "Let them go, or God will act, and terrible plagues, terrible things will happen to your people if you do not let them go." "No God is greater than me," said Pharaoh. "The people are staying here." So God acted. And he sent different plagues, different bad things to happen to the people of Israel. For instance, one time he sent so many frogs that if you were at home, there were frogs everywhere. Frogs in your food, frogs in your bed. When you took a bath, frogs filled the tub. They were everywhere. Wow. And then another time, he sent a great hailstorm, a great big chunks of hail that fell upon the crops and destroyed them, so there was nothing growing. These plagues, these bad things came from God. And the last plague that God sent, the oldest boy in every Egyptian home died. That's a sad thing, boys and girls. A very sad thing. But when we disobey God, a lot of times bad things happen. And when this happened to Pharaoh and he lost his oldest boy, he finally said to the people, "Your God is greater than me and my army. I must obey him. He's the strongest God there is. I will let your people go." And so, boys and girls, God used Moses. And the people followed Moses and out of Egypt and followed them to going back home to the land God had promised Abraham long ago. Enjoy your story today, boys and girls. God bless you.